Hello and welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. I do want to apologize up front here if you do hear any thunder or lightning in the background. That is a thunderstorm rolling through my area here in the Midwest, as we've had a lot of heavy rain across my area here, with several inches of rain being reported in portions here of northern Illinois back into Iowa here this morning. But welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage here, and today a lot to talk about. We got red flag warnings across portions here of the desert Southwest and the portions of the central and southern plains. Also high wind warnings and high wind watches, wind advisories extending all the way from southern and southwestern Minnesota down through the central and southern plains into the Texas area. And then here we do have flood watches across the area close to where I am here in northern Illinois and eastern Iowa here, where the thunderstorms are moving through. And then on the backside of the system, we do have blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings, and winter weather advisories here as well. Now, looking at today's Categorical 1 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, they have included a level 3 of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather here from south central Nebraska, western and central Kansas down through the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle, and then a slight risk and marginal risk zone here all the way up into the upper Midwest and into the northern plains region here, and extending all the way back down toward the Mexican border here into West Texas. Now, here's a look at all the risk categories here for today from the Storm Prediction Center. 2% and 5% tornado risk zones here from South Dakota getting all the way down here into the Texas panhandle. The highest risk for tornadoes here in that 5% risk area into far southwestern South Dakota, far northwestern Nebraska, and then another zone from south central Nebraska all the way down here through Kansas in the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles here, kind of going along with an enhanced risk zone. Also here, a wind risks of 30% hatched wind risk of 75 or greater mile per hour wind gusts here are likely as we head into late this afternoon, with these storms here from south central and western portions of Nebraska getting down through west central Kansas, the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles as well. And then they hatched a 15% and also 30% hatched hail risk of 2 inches or larger in diameter here from portions of one location there, a 15% hatched hail risk into southwestern South Dakota, closer to the low pressure system, and then along that enhanced risk and slight risk zone here from south central portions of Nebraska down through west central Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas panhandle. This does include the Lubbock, Texas area, up toward Midland, Texas, Amarillo, getting up here just west of portions of Salina, Kansas, and then getting up toward Lincoln, Nebraska here with that wind risk and that hail risk and even that tornado risk as well. So looking at this here, you can see a lot of warm and humid and muggy air being pushed up in here along this warm sector in the storm. You can see a warm front does extend here from the Ohio Valley up through the upper and mid Mississippi Valley, getting up into the northern Great Plains region. Just to the south of that boundary, a lot of 80s and 90s here are being expected, with a lot of widespread dew points in the 60s. That will make for a muggy field. Now, as we head into tonight, temperatures will only settle into the middle and low 60s all the way up into southern Minnesota here. We could only have lows here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region in the middle and upper 40s, near Chicago in the mid-50s, getting down toward Kansas City, mid-60s for lows, and that'll continue all the way down toward the Texas region as well. And like I said, these dew points along and south of this warm front and well into the 60s. We got mid to even potentially locally upper 60 dew points, especially as you get deep into this warm sector across here, Missouri, Kansas, getting down to Oklahoma, and even much of Texas as well. Even some low 70 dew points cannot be ruled out down near the Corpus Christi area, getting up toward Houston, Texas as well. And then to the north of that front, a lot of drier air with dew points in the 30s and 40s, but this here warm front will be surging northward as we head through the night tonight and into tomorrow, and pushing that warmer air and more moisture up to the north into the northern Great Lakes area as we head into our Saturday. Now, looking at today, though, we have the instability in place, some strong to extreme values of instability being in place from the northern Great Plains down through the central plains and into the southern plains here states as well, across the Texas panhandle, western and central portions here of Kansas, getting up into south central and eastern Nebraska, even into southeastern South Dakota, northwestern Iowa, and nosing its way into southwestern portions of Minnesota. Strong to extreme CAPE values or instability in play, and energy for these storms to grow very strong, up to an excess of 3,000 to 3,500 joules per kilogram. So that is very high up on the scale. And here we also do have a cap on the atmosphere, especially along that warm front into the upper Midwest area and into the northern plains here from portions of South Dakota and down through central Iowa and getting down towards central Illinois as well, and that will kind of prohibit thunderstorms from developing at first. But as we have that dry line pushing in from the west with that cold front, with that trough that's starting to dig down negatively tilted here into the middle of the country, that will here kind of erode that cap very quickly as we head to late this afternoon and into this evening, especially here as that cold front kind of undercuts that dry line here across this area. So like I said, that trough will continue to dig in and amplify as we head into this afternoon, and rounding the base of this trough will have all this wind shear in the low and mid levels here, and even a strong upper level jet, and that will begin to erode the cap as it starts to round the base of this trough and move into the center of the country as we head into this evening. And that here will promote here supercell composite values pretty high up on the scale here, with 20s to almost 30 here values, especially as you get down toward the Texas Panhandle and western portions of Kansas, and even getting down here into the Oklahoma area, getting all the way up into Nebraska as we head into this evening. And the significant tornado parameter is there, especially across the panhandle of Texas, getting up maybe into far southeastern Colorado there, into west central portions here of Kansas, getting up into Nebraska around the Lincoln area, and then kind of along that warm front as well here, getting up into South Dakota. Got to watch some of those storms here with the rotation here expected, with some rotating storms near that triple point, along that dry line, and then along that warm front as well here are the most concerning as we head into this evening. So let's look at this with the composite reflectivity. All is quiet as we head into late this afternoon, say 4 or 5 o'clock. As we get after that 5 o'clock hour, we start to see a little bit here of the energy start to push in from the Rockies and the Front Range area, and start to see a couple of thunderstorms develop across the western panhandle of Texas into far eastern New Mexico. And that here will start to invigorate here the atmosphere with an environment prime for organized severe weather. And we'll start to see individual supercells start to develop here from South Dakota southward into portions of Nebraska, west central Kansas, getting down into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas, and especially the ones here in Texas up through portions here of south central Nebraska, west central portions here of Kansas could be the ones that could really rotate along that dry line here, and also some very large and giant hail producers, 2-inch or larger hail, 75 plus mile per hour wind gusts with these supercells, and the potential for a few isolated tornadoes. And one of these supercells, if it can become more dominant, could produce here a strong long track tornado. So we'll have to watch that. And then as the cold front starts to undercut or kind of cut off that dry line here from the west, we'll start to see some of those supercells quiet down as we head toward the early evening hours. Still some supercell activity getting down to western Oklahoma and the panhandle of Texas into the early evening, and on up closer to that low pressure system and that triple point up into Nebraska and South Dakota. But then once that cold front undercuts and overtakes that dry line, we'll start to see a line or squall line or kind of a bowing segment start to develop here in the mid-evening hours across portions of western and central Nebraska and western and northwest Kansas, and kind of tailing its way down towards the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle areas, maybe even as far southwest as far northeastern portions of New Mexico. And this will continue to surge eastward very quickly, and where you have the surges in the wind along the leading edge, we could have 75 plus mile per hour wind gusts, some large hail, even some spin-up tornadoes along here the northern fringes, and also here kind of the southern fringes of this line on the kind of leading edge as well. And any storms that can pop up here ahead of the line could be capable of producing tornadoes as well. And then this line will kind of fall apart as it kind of pushes into more of a more aggressive environment with that cap in place as it moves toward the Mississippi Valley area and the Missouri Valley as we head into early Saturday morning. And then as we head into Saturday, the day 2 categorical outlook from the Storm Prediction Center has included a 2 of 5 risk, a slight risk zone from north central portions of Minnesota and eastern portions there of North Dakota, all the way down through Iowa, northwestern Missouri, far eastern Nebraska, getting down into east central Kansas, and much of central and eastern Oklahoma, and then a marginal risk extending all the way down to the Mexican border across central Texas, just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So tomorrow's risk here with the slight risk includes Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe up towards just west of La Crosse, Wisconsin, Des Moines, Iowa, Ames, Iowa, getting up towards Sioux City, Mason City, getting down towards Kansas City as well, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Topeka and Wichita, Kansas here as well. And then here that marginal risk zone will extend down here just to the west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area here and southeast of Lubbock, Texas as we head into our Saturday. Now looking at the risk for tomorrow Closer to the upper level low, we'll have here a kind of enhanced 5% tornado probability into north central and northwestern portions of Minnesota, far eastern North Dakota, and then kind of getting down with a 2% risk through Iowa, northwest Missouri, eastern portions there of Nebraska, and much of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, with another enhanced risk zone here, kind of enhanced tornado risk zone here of a 5% risk from southeastern Kansas through central portions of Oklahoma, kind of to the Oklahoma-Texas border near Wichita Falls as we head into tomorrow. And then that slight risk zone here for hail, and hail up to 2 inches in diameter, and also that wind up to 70 plus miles per hour will be kind of going along with those slight risk zones here from north to south. So as we head into tomorrow, temperatures, like I said, that warm sector will be surging farther to the north here, and along where that warm front will be extending all the way into Ontario, the Lake Superior areas, and to far northern Minnesota, with a large warm sector covering much of the eastern two-thirds of the country, an exception to the northeast. With temperatures in Chicago could be in the middle 80s as we head into our Saturday, lower 80s across much of northern and central Illinois and down into southern Illinois as well. And even some 90s showing up here as we head into portions of central Texas as well. Then as we head into tomorrow, that cold front will start to slowly sag to the southeast and start to stall across these areas into the central plains, up into the upper Mississippi Valley region. Lows in Chicago only in the middle 60s, middle to upper 60 lows as you get into east central Texas, up through Arkansas, portions near the Paducah area, and getting up into Indiana as well. So kind of a warm, muggy feel, kind of a summer-like feel for these areas. While on the backside, you have all that snowfall with temperatures in the 20s and 30s here, up into western North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and portions of western South Dakota and Colorado as well. And with all that warm, muggy air, that is due to these dew points here rising in the upper 50s to low 60s, due to this really windy, warm sector, especially with northward extent here into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois, and kind of inching its way down toward Missouri. Kind of see some mixing out of the dew points, with dew points here initially in the upper, the low to mid 60s. They'll kind of mix down to the middle and upper 50s with some lower 60 dew points mixed in as well, as we have that really windy, warm sector kind of mixing that air up here a little more. But still some muggy air all the way up toward the Canadian border as we head into Saturday afternoon. Now along that cold front here, not seeing as much of an instability here parameter as we are today, but still on the average around 500 to 1,000 plus joules per kilogram, with locally up to 1,500 or so from Wisconsin all the way down here into the southern and central plains regions here. A little bit of a cap as well here, especially ahead of that cold front, but as that, like I said, as all that shear starts to round the base of that trough, it will start to help erode that cap in place, and that'll really start to get these storms to initiate here and develop from west to east across the here mid-Mississippi Valley, the upper Midwest, down south here into the Missouri Valley, the Ozarks region, and down into the southern plains as well. So some pretty strong shear values here as a trough starts to really here start to broaden. Very large trough with cooler air on the backside with all that snow. To the east of there, a lot of warm, humid air here, and where those clash, some severe weather is expected, and that's why the Storm Prediction Center has that slight risk zone on Saturday. The shear starts to weaken a bit, but still some pretty nice values from Minnesota down through Iowa, Kansas, and even Oklahoma and Texas as we head into tomorrow evening, and that will here yield some supercell composite values here from portions here of central and southern Minnesota, and then a little bit higher of values into the central plains around Oklahoma, Kansas, and portions of eastern Nebraska as well, getting down into central Texas. And that does have me concerned, especially in Kansas and Oklahoma, maybe far eastern Nebraska here with that cold front as we head into peak heating into the early evening tomorrow, with values showing up here almost on the upper echelon of the scale here across portions of west central Oklahoma, getting into eastern Kansas, with potential for a significant EF2 or stronger tornado cannot be ruled out, especially if we can get some dominant supercells and intense supercells to develop here and break through that cap. So let's play this out on the composite reflectivity. Early in the morning hours, we'll see here that remnant activity from Friday storms continue to push off to the east. And then we'll see here that breaking up here with some lingering cloud cover, and then that cap eroding here as we head into the afternoon. We'll have some storms develop across portions of central Iowa down south here into the central plains. And then another line as this cold front pushes from west to east across Iowa, southern Minnesota, back into northeast Kansas with some gusty winds and some very heavy rainfall with that as well, with all those dew point temperatures being here kind of high for this time of year. And then that'll start to back build down through the central and southern plains as we head into the evening hours and down towards Texas. And then kind of once it reaches the Mississippi River up into the upper Mississippi Valley, the Ozarks region here, it'll start to fall apart as we head into Sunday here, with the weather instability here starting to wane as we head into that time frame. Now, in general, as we head through the rest of this kind of event, we're going to see a lot of heavy rain with that here MCV, or mesoscale convective vortex, continuing across portions of my area, across northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, into southern Wisconsin. That'll continue as we head through the day with a lot of heavy rain, 1 to 3+ inches there. And then as we head into Sunday, another heavy rain event, more widespread from southern Illinois and southwestern Indiana and back west-southwestward through the Ozarks into the foothills here of Missouri, back down into north central Arkansas, southeastern and eastern Oklahoma, back into central and north Texas. Could have an additional 2 to 4+ inches here of rain, kind of centered on eastern and southeastern Oklahoma, getting into northwestern Arkansas and north Texas toward the Dallas area as well. Some very heavy rain on Sunday. Now for today, the Weather Prediction Center's day 1 excessive rainfall outlook: a slight risk up here into the northern plains region, also a slight risk and marginal risk across portions here of the mid-Mississippi Valley from near the Chicago region westward into eastern Iowa, around Davenport, Iowa here, and westward into eastern Iowa, that slight risk zone as well for flash flooding. Then as we head into tomorrow, kind of along that front, the cold front, marginal risk of flash flooding from southeastern Iowa back through central and western Missouri, eastern portions of Kansas, and getting down toward Oklahoma City, Tulsa, into northeastern and central portions there of Oklahoma, and then another area into central Texas, and then another marginal risk area still up into that here northern plains region as well. Then as we head into Sunday, a more widespread zone of some flash flooding potential. And that is why the Weather Prediction Center's day 3 excessive rainfall outlook does show a slight risk, or 10 to 20% chance of flash flooding here from southern Illinois around the Carbondale and Paducah areas, getting back southwestward here towards Little Rock, Jonesboro, and Conway, also getting back here into Fort Smith, Arkansas as well, maybe near the Jefferson City here, Missouri area, Springfield, Missouri, and Joplin as well, getting back toward Tulsa, maybe just on the eastern fringes of the Oklahoma City area, and then down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth at Metroplex, Wichita Falls, and getting back towards here the Austin area as well. And then as we head into Sunday, still got that severe weather risk as well. The Storm Prediction Center's day 3 categorical outlook has a marginal risk zone from the upper peninsula there here of Michigan all the way south and westward through Chicago, central and eastern Illinois, getting into the foothills here in the Ozarks region of Missouri, into much of central and western Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, and getting down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into much of central and northeast Texas as we head into Sunday as well. And I'll show you this here in the backside. All that snowfall will continue, but on the warmer side here, that front will kind of stall, and you see some heavy rain and some thunderstorms embedded here, and a lot of heavy rainfall continuing to slowly shift to the east as this cold front slowly sags south and eastward through the day, and then that'll put an end to the severe weather chance and also the heavy rain chance as we head into early on Tuesday here. So a kind of a multi-day heavy rainfall and severe weather threat with this system as well. Now, looking at the European model's rendition here of how much rain is expected, you can see on general here from north central Texas, northeast Texas, and northeastward into the Ohio Valley and the lower Missouri Valley around the Ozarks into southern Illinois, can expect here on general 2 to 4 inches of rain. Some isolated pockets as you get down here on this model, at least from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting up into the lower Missouri Valley, could be up around 5-6 inches here potentially in the localized spots. And the GFS is pretty decent agreement and placement with these here, with the rainfall footprint here from north central and northeast Texas on up through the lower Missouri Valley around the Ozarks and the foothills of Missouri, getting up into the Ohio Valley as we head through here Sunday and Monday as we head into early next week. Then, like I said, on the backside, a lot of heavy snowfall, blizzard-like conditions, some whiteout conditions, very dangerous travel here across portions of eastern Montana, getting into North Dakota, back down into Wyoming, maybe even the Colorado Rockies here in upper elevations. Significant snowfall here. The NAM model's spitting out here 12 to 24 inches of snow, especially as you get into higher elevations across Colorado, but even into eastern portions of Montana, getting down into Wyoming, far western portions of North Dakota. You're up to around a foot to foot and a half or so of snow can be expected from this system in those blizzard warnings, those winter storm warnings, and those winter weather advisory type areas. Then looking longer range, we have another ridge that will start to establish itself across the four corners and into the southern and central plains as we head toward the end of the month of April, with that trough continuing to push off here into the northeast and east coast, and another trough starting to dig down in the Pacific Northwest, and that will continue here as we head toward the end of the month through the opening day here of May on Sunday here, May 1st. And that underneath that ridge, we'll have a lot of drier than normal conditions here across those regions. A little bit of a storm track zone up into the north, here the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest, with continued slightly above normal precipitation, and then slightly below normal precipitation here from the northeast, the Ohio and Tennessee valleys down to the southeast, and Gulf Coast states as we head toward the opening day or two here of May. Looking even farther in May, this goes from Friday, April 29th through Thursday, May 5th, and see that trough continuing to kind of slow down and push through these areas. Another trough will be moving in. Cooler weather here across the northern Great Lakes region into the northeast, and warmer weather with that ridge kind of starting to slowly amplify across the southern and central plains back into the Four Corners region, with much above average temperatures expected as well. Even some slightly above average temperatures down across the southern Gulf Coast states into Florida as we head into the opening here stages of May. And like I said, underneath that ridge, a lot of drier than normal conditions here on the 8 to 14 probabilities here from the Climate Prediction Center across the Four Corners. Still that storm track zone across the northern plains and northwest, with some drier than normal conditions across the eastern third or two-thirds of the country for the opening week or so of May. And you can see that very clearly here, that as we head into the middle of next week, another storm system will be diving down and developing in the middle of the country, with another trough that will continue to dive down here into the Pacific Northwest. That ridge will start to become established, especially as we head to late next week, and that will provide some warmer than normal temperatures. Those dew points off the western Gulf will be rising here into the middle of the country with that boundary layer moisture. And at first here, as we head into Wednesday next week, the GFS is not being too excited on the return of moisture here into the middle of the country, but some moisture return into Texas and Oklahoma as we head into Wednesday. More significant returns here of moisture into the middle of the country from the upper Midwest down through the central and southern plains as we head into Thursday, and even into Friday. That will amplify even further here. Very similar kind of setup next week here as we have with this storm system, with the colder and drier air on the backside, and you got all that warm, moist air here on the front side of that storm system, with a cold front and dry line across the center of the country, could yield more severe weather as we head into middle and late next week into next weekend. So we'll keep an eye on that as it does get closer. In general, through the rest of April, a lot of rainfall is expected, a lot of precipitation across the northern plains, with more snowfall, significant snow possible, a lot more rainfall, several more inches here across portions of the Missouri Valley, getting down to the southern plains, the upper Mississippi and mid-Mississippi Valley here as well. And still some decent rainfall amounts getting up here into portions of the northeast as well. And unfortunately for California and the Four Corners here, still not getting any much helpful rainfall here from any of these storm systems here coming up through the end of the month. Also kind of a dry zone across Georgia, South Carolina, and North Florida as we head in towards the 1st of May as well. Kind of a drier spell across those areas. So do enjoy it while you last, because May is going to be another active month. I'll have my May weather outlook come out here in the next few days to kind of preview the my May forecast. But do be sure to like my video and to click that thumbs up here to give me that like and crush that like button. And also here, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll be here all day and night to help you answer those. And also remember to subscribe to my channel to catch up on the latest weather forecast updates here through the season, to keep you ahead of all of the upcoming weather events here from coast to coast. So thank you for watching, and have a great Friday, everybody.